What if one woman's quiet work behind the doors of a private library helped shape how we think about archives today? My pick for this project is Belle da Costa Greene, the trailblazing librarian and curator who transformed the J.P. Morgan Library into one of the world's most respected repositories of rare manuscripts and historical treasures. She's often remembered as a librarian, but I want to make the case that Greene deserves a place among the archivists because her work anticipated the very principles that define modern archival practice. Belle da Costa Greene embodied the role of an archivist long before the field had the language to describe what she was doing. Born in 1879, she became J.P. Morgan's personal librarian at a time when women, especially women of color, were excluded from positions of scholarly authority. Despite those barriers, Greene built and managed a collection of rare manuscripts, illuminated text, and early printed books with such care and intelligence that her methods became models for archival and curatorial practice. I chose her because she represents the intersection of intellect, preservation, and power, and because she reminds us that archivists don't just keep history, they shape it. What did she do for the archival experience? Belle da Costa Greene's work changed how collections were built, preserved, and shared. When she took over J.P. Morgan's private library in 1905, it was a little more than a personal treasure room. By the time she retired in 1948, she had turned it into a public research institution, a transformation that mirrors the evolution of archives themselves. Here's what she did that revolutionized the archival experience. Provenance and authenticity. Greene insisted on knowing where every manuscript came from. She documented the history of ownership for each item, a cornerstone of what archivists now call respect des fonds, the principle of preserving the context of records. Appraisal. She didn't just buy beautiful books, she selected materials for their historical and scholarly value. Her acquisitions shaped how future researchers would understand the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, and the development of the printed word. Preservation and description. Greene developed internal systems to catalog and care for fragile materials. She understood that preservation was as much about knowledge organization as physical care, anticipating what archivists now recognize as the importance of metadata and descriptive context, access and interpretation. Perhaps more importantly, Greene believed these collections should be studied, not hidden. She opened the Morgan's doors to scholars, making the archive a space for discovery, not secrecy. Through these practices, Belle da Costa Greene gave archives a voice, turning static collections into living, interpretive spaces for research. What did people think when Greene was new to the archival world? When Greene began her career, her approach was radical. In the early 1900s, the archival world was still dominated by European traditions that prioritized royal or state records, not private collections. Greene's decision to treat Morgan's personal holdings as cultural heritage was innovative. Her contemporaries were astonished by her expertise. She became a celebrity in art and library circles, known for her sharp eye, elegance, and wit. Newspapers described her as the most cultivated woman in New York, but few understood that her work was reshaping archival culture from within. Privately, she was respected, even feared for her authority. Scholars and collectors deferred to her judgment, yet because she was a woman, and a black woman passing as white in segregated America, her contributions were often dismissed or obscured. Still, among those who understood her work, Greene represented a new kind of archivist, one who balanced scholarship, stewardship, and strategy. Professionals still follow her influence today, including librarians, archivists, and historians. The core principles she practiced, provenance, appraisal, preservation, and access, are the backbone of modern archival theory. Every time an archivist verifies a collection's authenticity or a curator provides digital access to a fragile manuscript, they echo Greene's legacy. In 2025, Greene's relevance has only grown. The archival field has expanded to recognize hidden figures, women, people of color, and others who shaped institutions from behind the scenes, Greene's story is now taught not only as library history, but as part of a larger conversation about representation and power in cultural heritage. She even had a New York Times bestseller novel written about her life and role as J.P. Morgan's librarian, bringing her into the realm of popular fiction. Moreover, the Morgan Library still operates under the systems and vision she established. Modern archivists cite her as an early model of ethical stewardship, someone who balanced the collector's desires with the public's right to knowledge. Her insistence that archives should serve scholarship, not status, continues to guide how collections are managed, digitized, and interpreted today. Belle da Costa Greene's story challenges us to rethink what it means to be an archivist. She may not have written a textbook or coined a theory, but her practice anticipated many of the theoretical frameworks that define the discipline today. She believed that preserving the past required integrity, intellect, and determination, qualities that remain vital for archivists facing new challenges in the digital age. So when we talk about contributors to archival theory, we shouldn't only name those who wrote the rules, we should also celebrate those who lived them, who built the systems of trust and preservation that make archives meaningful. And that's why Belle da Costa Greene, librarian, curator, and yes, archivist, deserves her place among the greats. Her legacy reminds us that archives are more than just shelves of history. She truly embodied a new standard of curatorial excellence.